Hello YouTube, iFixItAll here, Team iFixItAll. So today's video is about that. There's a eBay store or seller, Happy Bidder, but it's HPPYBDR, and they had something I needed to downgrade a food dehydrator. The one we have is small. Let me show you. So the food dehydrator we have is that 245 watts, and that's it. However, this one here is probably 25 years older than the one that's in the house, and to us it's an upgrade because of its manufacture date and its simplicity. So thank you, Happy Bidder, for sending us this item. One of the things I like to do is I like to find old products that are still really good. Like, for instance, this fan right here. Sold brand new in 1938 for $1.75, and it works just fine. Okay, I kind of wish I could have a store that saved old things and put them back to work again, because so I like to hunt and peck through Goodwill. I'll find things, but this is going to be, I guess let's just call it video number 1 of good old stuff videos. Let's unbox this thing. Hang on. Here's my Navy knife. It's a true bosun's mate's knife. Let's see. Okay. Open this thing up. Lots of good effort put into packing. I appreciate it. This is definitely was probably a challenge to ship, and cross your fingers that it made it to its destination safely. Much appreciated. I wonder if they even paid attention to Fraggle. They probably did. I'm not picking on anybody. Yeah, looks about the way I would have packed it. Let's just throw some bubble wrap down there. Carry handles. Okay, so I'll tell you what. Here's how I'm going to do this. There we go. It's about the safest way to do it. Okay. That was a good idea. Reinforce the bottom of the box with simple technology. All right. And another thing is, I like to know the story behind something that I find. Good old stuff. And the story behind this food dehydrator is that Happy Bitters, the seller, said that they've kindly decided to care for obviously, to care for their mother and bring them into their home. And their mother, who now needs care, used this food dehydrator. Let me tell you what, there are women in the world and there are unicorns. This woman was obviously interested in taking care of her people, because nobody would have invested and bought a food dehydrator of this magnitude if they weren't serious about what they were doing. But she, the mom, had gotten another food dehydrator. And now that the mom is living with Happy Bitter, that household, they are using that newer food dehydrator themselves, and they've decided to put this one up for sale. I'll find out but that's the story behind this, is it's been used. And let's take a look at this beast. Mid-1980s, I'll look up the model number and get an exact year. But I like the story behind things, because I know that someone was using this and it did a lot of duty. And my wife isn't home right now. I've been unsupervised for a full 24 hours on my own. And this arrived and comes complete with a dehydrated something. And this door, I got some apple peelings in there. I bumped the camera. Sorry about that. I was always confused about the photos I saw, but I didn't really care. I thought it might have been damaged, but I think this door just lifts off. I'll figure it out. Try to get rid of this packing. Alright. I wonder why they left me apple skins. I think it's like one of two options. Whoops, we didn't mean to leave apple skins in there. Or maybe it's a, hey, look at how well it does. So this is what we're dealing with. Let's see if this is the only tray with... Look at you. Okay, nice, nice. I don't know if that's... I bet that is apple. Okay. Trays. I'm going to save the apple to show the wife when she gets home. Jeez. That. Is that apple? I guess it is. It sure looks like it. Yeah, it's apple. Somehow I don't believe they intended to leave the apple. Alright, so here's the purpose of the video, guys. All I want to do is get down to the technical side of things. Meaning, I want to open this up and make sure it's safe for use for my wife, and remediate any kind of possible malfunctions that might, that I could foresee coming. I need a tape measure, because I want to take some tray measurements. my only tape measure just crapped the bed. Let's see, we got roughly a 14. But wow, it's a rectangle. For surface area, it's like 14 by 14. Pretty cool. Okay, I wonder if these come off. Oh, they do. I kind of am already, yeah. Well, that's really useful because you don't have to worry too much about, yeah, cleaning. All right, so let's get these trays out. I'm going to be opening up the whole thing. I got to figure out why this door is the way it is. I got to figure that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tray. And a thermometer. I'm not real sure if that came with it. A lot of people, I remember these were real popular back in the 80s. These automatic thermometers. I'm going to test this out and see if it has any usefulness. I'll do that on my own time. It's like a, if you just induce heat on this item, the color change, the number will change color in proportion with the temperature. No batteries needed. It's some sort of thermodynamic technical crap. Alright, so there's that. Yeah, my wife is gonna love this, I think. I hope she does. She's out of town right now, dealing with a funeral. We lost her grandmother. I really like this whole thing. When I saw it, I knew this was speaking to me. I can pretty much understand why shipping was so high on this, because it's just awkward. That's some, what is this? I'm not a cooking person. It's parchment paper, maybe? No, it feels plastique. I'm not real sure. There's several sheets of it. I wonder if this came original. There's 1, 2, maybe this didn't come with it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. Try to get all the accessories out of the way. Let's try to understand what's up with this door. First and foremost, I see a magnetic catch up here. It might need some lubrosity to catch that metal tab. So then what happens here? What do? Put it up here and roll it in. And then it magnetically, yeah, that's how it works. I'll have to tune the door up a little bit. I see what's going on here. I'll get those magnets replaced with some neodymium magnets. I'll probably epoxy a couple to maybe not, I don't know. But I see what the intention was with the original design, and it's not catching, most likely because the bottom edge, as I suspected, is curved downward, so it has lowered the profile of this magnetic part here, which is a repair job, it looks like, and it's not centering up on the magnet. I see what's going on. because if I raise the door up a little, it catches pretty good. Yeah, I see what's going on. No biggie. I kind of like the simplicity of the door. There's no hinge. It actually offers you the ability to not be limited to where you can store it. So hang tight. I'm going to look this thing up and see where it was, what year it was made. Okay, so I think I had my wires crossed a little bit. No, the seller owned this since it was new, and then their mother had a newer model that the seller considered to themselves as an upgrade. And so I'm getting the seller's model. I had that a little backwards. I called around, made a few phone calls. All we can determine is this. If anyone knows exactly when this model was available new, but I was guessing early 80s. And that's all the information I could get from some second party companies who, and I didn't see a phone number on Excalibur's website, but I will dig into this deeper. Me and knowing the story behind something is really important. So let me get busy on opening this up. First thing I'm going to do is determine what tools I need. Hang tight. So right out of the gate, I've noticed I've just got simple Phillips screws on the back. And again, the objective is to examine and make sure it's okay to use. It's pretty much that simple. Got a little rag laying over here for screws. And I'll take out these screws and I'll bring you back when I'm done. All right, so from my technical perspective, what do I expect to find here? I expect to find, that's interesting. I thought this would have rear fan. I don't know yet, but apparently the fan is going to be over here. What do I expect to find? Well, I see a temperature control with an integrated off switch. So it's all in one switch. And I notice it's a little loosey-goosey there, so I know there's probably a captive nut on the back. Feels pretty smooth so far. I can tune that up and calibrate that back into off. I expect to see all the fan on this side. I'm not real sure how air circulates in this guy, because I see there's holes here which would deliver the air, and I see the discoloration over here, so the heating element must be located toward the front side. I don't understand how air gets I don't know how the hell this it's thicker and open over here. And I see we're vented over here. Got one more screw left. Let's get back on the important stuff, which is it safe for use, which I'm sure it is. The seller told me it was perfectly fine, so that's all there is to it. This fits in perfectly with our house, by the way. Alright, so I was wrong on the placement of the fan. Alright, so Ha 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 ha. Say her, her. Me glad me looked. And we got a typical 1980s strain relief mechanism fitting right here. Fan is totally hardwired in. Got a couple of wire nuts right there from the factory. I'm going to be diving in deeper into this. I've got to get that power cord off first. I think. Hang on. Hold tight. I might be able to figure something else out because there's mounting feet on the bottom which might enable me to remove that outer cover. Hang tight. By the way, your typical fan, yep, it's definitely in need of some TLC for cleanup. And there's probably a port that says oil here. I'll be taking care of all that. Hang tight. Alrighty, so I've got this cover off, and it was just a zip tie holding the harness to this metal bracket here. I will get rid of that. And I see that there's one conductor here off of the motor that's in series with something else up front. But I'm left with a red and a white wire that travels into the cabinet. So I can release this cover and get it out of the way. But an interesting fact is on 2 wire cords, and this is what I was checking for, is on all of your lamp cord wiring, one edge of the rubber is smooth and the other side is ribbed. And this had something to do with disability compliance with extension cords. But the side of your cord that has the texture is the neutral leg, and this was graciously during the era, it may have just been a newer type of requirement, but this company made a choice to integrate that into their plug cords. So this side of the cord is textured to the neutral, and the smooth is to the hot leg, because the neutral leg is always the wider tang, oddly shaped wide tang too. But here's my neutral conductor, the white, and the white is in fact tied to the textured side conductor, so I don't have to remember anything. Let's see. So these two are neutral, and this is the hot. So I can undo this wire nut here. I'm looking at the color of the copper. Let me zoom in a little. And that can help tell us a little bit about any kind of, and also the first few millimeters of insulation condition. This can tell us a lot about how the equipment was running previously. So it tells me that whatever conditions this machine was exposed to, it was never really compromised. I don't see any reasons to think that this was under a lot of current draw, nor did it suffer an electrical trauma of sorts. The wire nut is not discolored in any way. The spiral portion, the The metal spring spiral doohickey inside the wire nut is not discolored. Things are looking good so far. It's just basically might need just a basic cleaning on the inside. So I'm going to keep these neutrals together. And this will be my hot leg, which is red. And that's not discolored, nor is the interior. So I have to remember, usually in AC power, your hot leg is your black, but hang on. I just had a issue. Hang tight. I'm out here in the garage and a big ass bumblebee just landed on me. So now my rear cover is free. I have to remember that's my neutral. This one does nothing. And there's my hot. Now I can get rid of this cover. The cord does not, the cord is still rubbery, and I'm not seeing any cracks. I'm feeling for cracks. So let's move on. And now I can take the bottom off. Hang tight, and I'll zoom back out. And let me get busy again. So it's always tricky trying to figure out how they put things together from the factory. I noticed they have some pocket screws around the interior perimeter. I'm not sure. I had to take the knob off. I found the little nut that was loose. So I'm going to take these little pocket screws out. The little dinky guys. Find a screwdriver that might suit me better. These are literally pocket screws. They have them machined out at an angle and everything. Okay, now this is a second category of hardware, so I'm making sure I collect it all up and properly stage it where it needs to be. I thought the outer skin would pop off like a microwave, but it might, but then again, it could be, since it's likely never been opened, there could be some adhesive challenges here. Also may discover why the door wasn't latching up proper when I dive in. My thoughts are the bottom metal backer can be flexed upward to carry this upward, which will carry that magnetic pull to the door better. But let me get this hardware out. Let me keep plugging away. So I found more pocket screws right up through here. And yeah. Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe that's why the label is kind of jacked. I think the label just got wet. Let's see. But absolutely not. Just taking off the cover, the feet on the bottom didn't help release this thing at all. Let's see what happens when I do this. Ah, there's the business end of it. Okay. Too easy. Well, hell. So, this is so damn simple. What do we got? I can tighten that all up real easy. There's not a lot to do in here. My wife is going to love this. So I'm going to do I gotta label this, that way I don't confuse the switch any. Hang tight. Alright, so I've made myself a wiring legend on the bottom of this unit for my future reference. Let's see what's inside this. Alright, let me zoom a little bit. That was a little bit loose. Okay, I will remedy that. Not to worry, though. That noise. Mm-hmm. Okay. So here's the rear of that switch I was talking about, where it was loosey-goosey. So I need to figure out why that's happening, and that's going to be probably... Oh, it's just because there's play in the plastic. So if I tighten that nut down right here a little bit better, that'll probably take all that up, all that slack. So let's, well, I tell you what, there is nothing to this machine. I understand how it circulates air and everything. All right, so what we've got is, yeah, a difficulty for you to see is what we have. We literally have a heating element integrated into the fan back there. There's nothing to this. I lost my red wire. That red wire needs to go out there. Okay. I just want to get this in the machine. There's no questions. Let's see if I can get you guys to where you can see that. There's literal, like in your dryer, there's a particular wire that's not really made for conducting electricity. It's a pot metal type wire that's used in heating elements. So these heating elements heat up. The fan must blow outward. Wrong, Scott. It sucks air inward. And since all this is closed off, and in all actuality, it would pay for me to kind of study this and figure out how to seal this up a little better, because what's happening is heat comes in, but it hits the back of this cover here. Very interesting. But then it gets trapped and gets pushed in through all the pinholes in the trays, goes across the food through these pinholes and travels through the sheet metal, little port right there. There's a gap between the sidewall of this dehydrator, and then the air would go again. I see some shifting going on in the plastic. But there's a definite gap there, which would allow it to leak out the back vent. God, there's a whole lot less to this than I thought there was. So let me get busy on cleanup. Hang tight. All right, guys, so here's the front cover. This is my thermostat. And, you know, it mounts like this. And I thought, well, I don't think I like that heat blowing towards the plastic. I think I'll be smart and add a sheet metal thing here. I'm zoomed in too far. Let me tilt down a little bit. And then, there we go. So I was considering adding a piece of sheet metal right here so that as the heat came towards this switch, it's turning and complementing these channels to receive the hot air that goes across the food and out the back. This is a forced air dryer. It's not sucking cool air in, or no, it's not. Yeah, it's blowing heat through here across the food, and it's got nowhere else to go but out the back. So then I looked at this and I'm like, wait a minute, this is my, it's actually a integrated all-in-one on-off switch and thermostat. It's made by Thermodisc, which is the world's best snap switch manufacturer. And the magic happens right here on this section. I can see the switch witchery. Maybe that comes out right now. Hang on. It should. Yeah. There it is. And there's my snap switch. Right here. And due to ambient temperature, whether or not this makes or breaks contact or not, it'll deform and create an electrical path out to the elements. When it thermally deforms, it'll make the connection to send power back out to the heating elements. Yeah, this will be controlling just the heating elements, while the other two leads are probably just controlling the fan. The fan probably runs full duty all the time, because it would have to, I would think. And this temperature switch would be clicking, opening and closing power to the elements to maintain a certain temperature, based on how this Thermodisc switch is calibrated. Alright, so no, I don't want to be blocking off airflow to this switch, because then that'll change everything about how this thermometer works. And besides, if I take a look at it, there's really nothing necessary to do, because this plastic doesn't look compromised in any way, shape, or form. Although I do see that there's an option here that I'm missing. Not that I'm missing it, it's just that what feature was that? That there was another knob up here. Interesting. Alright, hang tight. So might I add another footnote here? Now I understand why the discoloration of the plastic is more pronounced up forward on both sides of this thing. Make sure you can see. there's some discoloration in the plastic up here and not so much back here. Because the air is getting, the heat is coming from the elements and the air is getting pushed this way. The vast majority of the heat is on the forward 50%, getting pushed across the foods, getting through these pinholes here and getting pushed out the rear. I would venture to say that the previous owners would agree that most of the dehydrated items achieved dehydration the closer they sat towards the door, while the stuff in the rear took a little while longer. Let me pause and think about if there's some sort of modification I can do to center up that heat dissipation. Hang on. So while my brain stews on that, I'm going to get this fan out. Hang tight. Yeah, there's plenty to clean up on this fan. What I'm looking for is the typical spots that show an oil port. A lot of times these old motors will have an oil here symbol. Use my magic extra eyeball and see what I can find. Yeah, there it is. There it is. I want to show you guys this. Let me see if I can get the fan blade off. I believe that shouldn't be nothing more than just frictioned on. Yep, that's all it is. Yep. Come on. There we go. It's got a little ring around the shaft that helps keep it cinched on this real tight. Motor feels real good. Hate to take more wire nuts off. I'll designate this as the black to black. Polarity doesn't usually make a difference in AC power, but since this is a metal chassis, I need to make sure I keep my hot leg and my neutral leg coordinated proper. I'll leave these two straight, so that'll designate my fan hookup. I want you to take a look right here. There's a little something to point with. Fine, I'll use this. There's a little port right here where I can add oil, and inside there's a piece of felt that holds the oil, just like back here. The only problem I have with the engineering behind this is just now, and I've already marked the orientation, I put a little tick mark right here with a Sharpie, is that this is a brass bearing in here. There's no ball bearings or nothing, but it's just a brass bearing, and I'm sure this has never had oil since day one, so it's operated just fine. But this whole oil port is based on the premise that the fan is mounted like this, so that when you add oil, it stays trapped in that felt and it doesn't run out of the hole on the front or the rear. But here's my oil hole, and the fan is mounted this way. I'm going to add oil anyway. There's no way to mount it because the bracket was installed the way it's installed. Technically, this ought to be mounted like this. That way my oil hole is right here, and my other oil hole is right here. Let me add a little bit of Earl to this, and, well, you didn't see that. Hang on. Alright, so we were talking about the oil ports. The oil port's right here. And then the other one is right here. But remember, my fan was mounted this way. I have a Sharpie mark right here to help me remember to put my fan, orientate it with the motor inboard toward the dehydrator section. But if my oil port is right here, it makes no sense. Technically, they should have mounted this motor this way and used a totally different bracket. You know, engineered a different bracket. So let me add a little bit of oil to this and I'll get to moving on. Alright, so I've got myself a ink printer cartridge refill thingamajiggy here. And I'm just going to be injecting some Earl into there. Again, if you take these apart, you'll find out that there is a felt washer in there that absorbs this oil, but that felt is always rubbing against the spinning shaft, and it adds lubrication as the motor is ran. Most all these general purpose fan motors have this same setup, and the shaft spins on a brass or a bronze bushing, a shim, to shim the steel shaft from the aluminum housing. Let's see what we got there. Well, I better not rub that dirt off right there, because that's kind of like my witness mark to tell me how deep to put how far to slide the fan blade back down on. Yep. Alright, hang tight. I'm going to finish lubing this up. Now here's the first good look I've been able to get at the heating element. And if I can tilt you guys a little bit better. What I'm going to do is, I can see what they did here. They supported the heating element. And it's just one continuous circuit down to 2 terminals. And they have a safety thermal fuse right here. What I'm going to do is see if I have continuity across this to make sure that it's a complete circuit. Grab my meter. I'm just going to set it on continuity test. Or tone, diode check. That way I get an audible tone. I don't know if it's going to tone or if it's going to just show resistance, because it is resistance wire, so to speak. Yep, it's toning out. So there's no breaks in it. And I'm going to check my fuse. and the fuse is good. Which, from here to here, I tested through the fuse anyway. All right. So, for all purposes, this thing should function. I'm going to button this whole thing back up again. That's the tour through the insides of this. I've got a little bit of sweeping up to do in here. This is and that's. But yeah, that's my theory, is air gets sucked in right here, goes across the heating elements, gets forced through the machine, but since there's a front cover on, it runs into the back of this thermal switch, thermodisc, regulates the power delivery to the heating elements, and opens or closes power to the heating elements while the fan remains running continuously. And then the air hits the cover, forces air across the food, and then the other side is vented as well. It forces air out this small crevice and out the back cover, which is grilled as well. It's grilled. So air in, air out. Other than that, it's a pretty simple machine. Happy bidder up on eBay, HPPYBDR. You might regret getting rid of this. I don't know. Hang tight. Okay, so one of the things that I did here was that I brought the electrical connections away from the fan. I've got them zip tied right there to the grill. And I'm assembling still. Okay, guys. Got it back together. So any electrical geek like there are out there would not be worth their salt if they didn't test this beforehand, which I did. Everything operates just fine. I need a shim. Hang on. Dang it. There we go. There we go. Just a little bit of a shim. So it looks like I've got the door functional. I see what happened though. The door split right at the top. It's been epoxied. But I do love the idea that that door just comes off. Very handy. Very insightful of the manufacturer. I got the knob secured. There's nothing to this thing. So yeah, air sucks in here, goes across the food, gets pushed out the back. Here it goes. Functional test. Oops. There's something not attached to this. Alright, here we go. Plugged in. That is really not all that loud. Next thing for me to do is to use my thermometer. I've already checked the thermodisc to see if it's clicking off and on, and it is. The heating elements don't glow. The elements themselves won't glow, but what I want to do is try to see, by hooking up my temperature probe, if this is agreeing with my meter to see if it's putting out the right temperature. But hey, I'm happy. Time to wipe it off and drag it in the house and surprise the wife when she gets home from her road trip. All right, guys, we will talk to you later. See ya. Bye.